haven't touched on yet the Ottawa spending $170,000 on ISIS brides. I'm just trying to find the link here to pull that one up.
Yeah, and why are we flying them back home? You
Yes.
left to join ISIS. You left to willingly join a terrorist organization once you were fully aware that they were starting a caliphate and enslaving Christians and Yazidis and selling them in slave markets, beheading them, forcibly converting them or beheading them, destroying their Christian towns, their churches, and Christian history, really, because the Nineveh Plain is really the birth of Christianity in northern Iraq, and ISIS went about destroying it. And if you joined ISIS once you saw that happening, you're not our problem anymore. You're theirs. And you get to stay gone. This is one of those times that even if you're Canadian born, you've just renounced your citizenship. If you leave to engage in terrorism or give care and comfort to terrorists by carrying their children for them, you don't get to come back. But apparently we brought them back and then let them splurge on room service, and they're drinking wine. I thought they were such Orthodox Muslims that they had to start a caliphate and then they're drinking wine.
Yeah. Well, this story comes from Global News, and yeah, it explains wine, candy, and room service. How Ottawa spent, and by Ottawa, obviously they mean the Canadian taxpayer,
Yeah.
spent $170,000 on Canadian ISIS women. So federal officials spent at least $170,000 bringing Canadian ISIS women home from Syria.
8 women, 8 of them.
Wow. This is according to, they must have filed access to information documents that show expenses for ice cream, candy, and wine.
Business class flights. Okay, when I schlepped off to northern Iraq to document what these women were supportive of, I slept in airports, crammed into my economy seat. But the women who are part and parcel of perpetrating that genocide, the taxpayer flew them home on business class flights. They got to stay at the Montreal Marriott. Sick.
Yeah, the money for the cost was for, as you said, 8 women who had traveled to the Middle East to join the Islamic State, then returned to Canada with their children in 2022 and 2023.
Global Affairs, I would repatriate the children, but the ladies can stay there.
Yeah, I mean, you made a conscious choice there to go back, and
yeah.
Global Affairs Canada paid for business class flights, stays at the Montreal airport, Marriott, room service, chips, chocolate bars, and Timbits. One hotel room cost over $1,000 for 2 nights because of a $95 wine tab. I would say that's even an astronomical charge, just $1,000 for 2 nights. But another ran to $850 with charges for junk food and a $25 servings of red, white, and sparkling wines. Just living that high life. $2,800 for catering, $24 sandwiches at the hotel's restaurant bar, and $86 worth of snack food and over-the-counter drugs at a hotel gift shop. Yeah, I guess you would need Tylenol after all the refined sugar and wine.
Yeah, which should be diabetic medication, insulin, $95 in wine for the one room.
This is gross.
Yeah.
Caramel bars, Aero bars, Doritos, $100 for books, clothing, travel bags, Canadian pins, and a high value token of appreciation purchase at Best Buy. Like, oh man, we really need a Doge North.
This is crazy. Everybody involved should be fired.
Yes.
Everybody.
100%.
And remember,
ordered to repay all the costs.
This government had to be forced to recognize the ISIS genocide. They actually had to be shamed by a Yazidi survivor of the sex slavery committed against Yazidi women in northern Iraq and Syria. She had to come to the parliament to shame the liberals in it, Nadia Murad. And this is what they were doing to the people who were quite potentially participating in her torture.
Well, further down, it says that this actually doesn't even include the cost of sending Canadian officials, so I would say the military, to extract the women from Syria.
No, you're the serious problem. You're
And
not. Oh my
the
God.
response was that the Department of the Global Affairs Canada is withholding 50 pages of these documents because they're under consultation with a foreign government. So they had to coordinate. I don't want to say collude, but they had to coordinate efforts with a foreign government.
I bet you this is the United Nations, if I had to
Hmm.
guess. They've got such a heavy footprint there. And it's actually to the detriment of the real people who need to get out of that region. So let's also recall, by the way, it appears as though they're moving heaven and earth to get the ISIS brides out. But if you were a Christian in the Middle East, particularly survivors of the ISIS genocide who were trying to leave and get to Canada, under Stephen Harper, he made persecuted Christians coming from genocide zones a priority in the immigration queue, in the refugee queue. If you were going to die because you were a Christian, you got to jump in front of everybody else. I agree. But Justin Trudeau changed that. He said, no, that's I think he called it disgusting, to allow persecuted Christians. Like, the genocide was perpetuated against them. They even smashed the cemeteries because even the Christian dead couldn't rest in peace. Justin Trudeau said that's disgusting and he changed it. But it's even worse on the ground, because what happens is the United Nations, which is already anti-Semitic, anti-Christian, they hire the locals who have many times perpetuated the genocide and now are just pretending they didn't. We were against that. They hire them to work in the refugee camps. And if you have a Christian last name, or if you have a Yazidi last name, well, guess what? Your paperwork keeps getting shuffled down to the bottom and you never get out of the refugee camp. In fact, I went with some aid workers who were working with the Nazarene Fund to deliver aid and diapers to the refugee camps that are run by the United Nations, to the Christians and the Yazidis, because they can't get aid inside the refugee camps. That's how bad it is there. And yet those people shoved to the back of the line, while Global Affairs moves heaven and earth to wine and dine ISIS brides and put them in business class to get them over here. It's revolting.